Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan Time HD. So yeah, this is gonna be a great time.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday. I am your host, Ronan Time HD, and today we just watched Terrifier 2, the new, and I'm really happy to say this, modern slasher film. I have a love for slasher films, and this movie really shows me why I love slasher movies, and why, yeah, elevated horror and like psychological horror is great. I also love that, but there's nothing wrong with a classic slasher like this, and it really makes me want to watch Terrifier 1 to get more context with the story in this one, because I didn't watch the first Terrifier. I just jumped straight to Terrifier 2 because it was the best thing playing right now, and I was not disappointed. I just loved the whole thing, practical effects, everything. But I don't want to get into a big tangent here, so I'll tell you why I loved this movie and more back at the house.
Please welcome Art the Clown.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan Time HD, and this week we watched Terrifier 2, made by Damien Leone. He obviously made the first one too. If you didn't know that, you probably should. Well, yeah, this movie came out this year, and it came out in the theaters. And actually, I'm gonna talk about the like box office real quick. You know how usually when a movie comes out, the opening weekend is its most successful, most like has the best revenue, and then it like gradually goes down as the weeks go on. Well, the thing about this movie is, as the week is going on, it's making more and more money with every single week. So people are hearing about it. They're like, "Hey, I need to watch it. I need to watch that." Then they tell other people, "Hey, you should watch this. Hey, you should watch this," and then it just keeps going. But like the thing about this movie is, when we heard about it, we didn't want to. We knew that it was playing, and we didn't want to watch it yet because we hadn't seen the first one. But today, we saw it and we're like, "Hey, it's still playing. Fuck it. Fuck the first one. We're just gonna jump straight to the second one and watch it. And we'll watch the first one another day, just whenever." So I think that worked out great. In my, not my opinion, I think, no, yeah, in my opinion, I think it really worked out great, because I think I understood the story well enough to know what was going on, and I also feel like this movie just really, I didn't need to see the first one. I just didn't need to watch the first one to enjoy this one. I could completely enjoy this movie on its own. And obviously I will watch the first one sometime, but I don't know when that is. But anyway, I'll get to the movie now. And by the way, spoilers. I'm going to get into spoilers with this. I feel like to talk about my love for this movie, I need to get into some spoilers. So before the review even starts, big warning. Spoilers for Terrifier 2 are in this review. Proceed with caution. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, so this film is a modern slasher, and if you don't know this by now, I fucking love slasher films. I love horror films, but I think slashers are some of my favorite kind of horror films. Yeah, there's some good with a psychological film and elevated horror and shit that fucks with your head, like weird experimental shit. But I say that a classic slasher film can do no wrong if it has a competent crew, a competent company, and a competent, production. I feel like any of you could make a good slasher film if you really believe in yourself. Because I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. Like, making a slasher film is easy, but that's a strength, because slasher films are so easy to get right. If you get a slasher movie wrong, you just don't like horror movies. Because I feel like, I don't know, man. I just think you need good kills, a good slasher, and unique ideas. If you have all three of those things, you'll be tight with a slasher film. And I love this movie because of mainly the practical effects, the slasher art, the clown, and I was also invested in the story and its unique ideas. I really, really like this movie because of all those things. And I don't know, it was just so enjoyable from beginning to end. I was never bored. There was never a scene in the movie that I was like uninterested in, or I was bored, or I like there in almost every scene. Like, it would actually, this movie is pretty ridiculous with like the kills and the blood and the gore, but there is some genuinely like nerve-wracking scenes in this movie. I know I say that word a lot, but this film made me genuinely nervous. Like, it really got my blood pumping. That's also why you watch a horror movie, you know. But it is, I think it's a great example of how to make a modern slasher film. I think along with X, I think this would go along with X with a great 2022 slasher film. And this makes me really want to watch the first one. I think I've actually heard people say this is better than the first one, but I still want to watch it because I have a feeling the kills are going to be pretty similar. But yeah, I also think Art is a really great slasher villain. I think he's great. And the fact that he's really funny. Like, I don't know if this makes me like some kind of sadist, but the scene where he kills that girl, the main girl's friend, it's like, it's so ridiculous. Like, it just keeps going and going. When you think he's done, he just comes back and does more. Like, he chases her through the house. He chases her upstairs. Then I think he starts, like, stabbing her. And then he starts ripping off her scalp. And yeah, that's cool. And then he starts ripping up her back. And he rips open her skin on her back. And you're like, and he walks away. And you think, oh, she's just going to bleed out. Do that. But then he comes back with bleach and salt and he rubs it in the wound, and then he just fucking keeps cutting her up. He just keeps cutting her up. Then he like fucking rips off half of her face, and then he grabs her arm and he breaks it, and then he twists it again and it rips it off. And then it's like, I don't know, as I said, I don't know if this makes me sadistic, but it was fucking hilarious how he just kept going. And then she was still alive. Through getting her arm twisted off and getting her scalp ripped off, her skin on her back, her getting cut all over the fucking place, she somehow had not lost enough blood, getting her face ripped off. Like, not even just the skin, like the flesh on her skin was ripped off. You could see her fucking skull. And she, like, when her mom walked in on Art just like filleting her and shit, she like had the ability not only to move her head but to say "mom." It was so fucking stupid, and it was great. But yeah, dude, that was probably my favorite kill. Maybe my favorite part of the movie was that kill. But I think all the kills in this movie are pretty unique. And my favorite part is there was no off-screen deaths. No off-screen deaths. Except for maybe one guy. But no, actually, no off-screen deaths that I can think of. Oh yeah, there's like one off-screen death, and now there's a guy in the laundromat, and it just shows him dead. But it's more for like comedic effect, and it's not really to be, it's like also a bit of a cold open. So yeah. But also, man, like, if you're a fan of gore and blood, people have said that they've fainted in this movie, they've vomited, they've gotten sick, and all that, and I'm like, well, good for you, honestly. I'm kind of happy for you that this movie was so jarring and so shocking to you that you felt like you needed to vomit, or you fainted, or you felt sick. And it's not the good that you're sick, but I'm happy that you were that into this movie, like that horrified by this movie, that you could go that far. And honestly, this movie didn't really affect me that much. I mean, yeah, the gore is great, and it's really good, and, like, I think the practical effects are some of the best I've seen this year, but I think the thing is, I've seen shit like this before. I've seen a lot of gory movies, and honestly, I think a movie that I can think of that's harder to watch is Begotten, if you've ever seen that. The opening, I think, is, like, really... I could barely watch the opening of Begotten. Like, the pocket knife. And also, I think this movie just is more over the top with its gore. Begotten is, like... There's barely any sound, and it's just... I don't want to go on a rant about Begotten. I love Begotten. Maybe I should review that for another day. But, yeah. I think just... I think it's too ridiculous to take that serious, you know? Like, how... I know the gore is, like, really prominent throughout the whole film. I just think that the gore is not shocking to me because it's not tame. Definitely not tame, but I feel like it's, like... I don't really know how you're feigning because, yeah, it's gnarly, but as I said, it's ridiculous. Like, how can you not love this? I mean, I don't know. It's just so over... I don't get it. I mean, I feel bad. Not feel bad. I just don't get why people are feigning. I don't get it. Maybe they're not used to it. You know, maybe they're not used to the gore and the blood, and they don't watch horror movies as much as I do. They don't watch all the super gory shit, so this is, like, really surprising. But I think even the guy who made this, Damien Leone, the guy who made this movie, I think he also was a special effects guy. I think they said that in the behind the scenes after the movie. He's a special effects guy. And I think that really shows with how great they look. And I think if this guy's made any other movies besides Terrifier, I want to watch them. Because if they're anything like Terrifier, I'm probably going to really like them. Even if he doesn't make the movie, if he just did the special effects, I still probably want to watch it. Because I just think he's a great VFX artist. I think he did great. And also, I think my favorite part about this movie, as I said, is Art. Art himself. He's funny. Okay? He's a mime, so he doesn't speak at all. And, oh man. It's like that's like, he's got, like, the teeth. He's always doing that face throughout the entire movie. And he's, like, always smiling and that. And he's always, like, laughing. But he's not, you can't hear him laugh because he's a mime. So he's just, like, silent laughing whenever he fucks up somebody. And it's always funny when he's just doing stupid clown shit. And I think people are scared of clowns, but I think I find clowns pretty funny. Especially a killer clown. I always found killer clowns funny. Because whenever they're trying to be spooky and they're just, like, doing, like, they're blowing up a balloon and they're trying to be spooky, I just laugh. Because it's, like, ridiculous. Like, this clown is trying to kill me. It's in these big-ass shoes. It's got a fucking red nose and stupid rainbow wig. No, I'm not talking about Art. I'm just talking about why I think killer clowns are funny. Because they got, like... They're, like, laughing at me while they got a chainsaw and they're chasing me. Like, how is that not funny? But, like, yeah... I honestly found Art really funny. I also found the comedy really funny in this movie. I don't know. I just felt like everything, like, satisfied me on a horror movie basis. I incredibly enjoyed this movie. This is probably one of my favorite horror films of the year. Maybe one of my favorite films of the year so far. So, yeah, there's that. Really, really incredibly enjoyed this film. And for any horror fans out there, I would highly, highly recommend you go out and see this in the theater if it's still playing. You watch it. Watch it right now. It is definitely worth your time if you're a horror fan. As I said, I say this a lot. Definitely not for everyone. Yeah, par of the course, I gotta say that. But yeah. Yeah, so I think I'd rate this film... I don't know if I'm overrating it, or maybe it's just recency bias. Maybe not recency bias. I feel like I'd give this film a 9. I incredibly enjoyed this movie. I got exactly what I wanted out of it. I heard all the gore. I heard all the blood. I was not disappointed. I got bloody and gnarly violence, and I like that in a horror movie. Incredibly satisfied. I can't really think of anything bad. I just think it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect, but a 9 out of 10, definitely a 9 out of 10 for me. Highly recommend it to any horror fans, and, you know, I think I've said my piece, you know, so, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you like it. Share it with your friends. Subscribe. Turn notifications on. Comment down below on how much you liked it. But you guys know how it goes. That's not what I really meant to say. What I meant to say was if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe, dislike, tell me how much hate me in the comments. Signing off. But wait a minute. You know, Chris Jericho, he's in this movie, and I like wrestling, so Chris Jericho's in this movie, and he said, hey, Chris Jericho's in this movie, and if you know wrestling, you know who that guy is. Even if you don't, you might still know who he is. But then, so yeah, they cut the rest of that part out, but keep this part in. So basically, Chris Jericho was in this movie, and they said he was in the movie before the movie came out, and he was even in the opening credits as one of the top billed people. And I was like, I watched the whole movie, I'm waiting for Chris Jericho. I'm like, where the fuck is Chris Jericho? And then the credits roll, and it's like, what the fuck? Chris Jericho wasn't in this movie. So then, there's an end credit scene, and he is in this movie, but he's only in the end credit scene as a little orderly nurse person in a psychiatric ward. And that's his whole thing, and he talks about a zombie platter, and that is Chris Jericho. And he's in the movie, but in the end credit scene of the movie. And that has been my video. For realsies, this is the actual end of the video. I just wanted to talk about Chris Jericho. Signing off.